the physical tactics. So what is this? Well, it's really just proven strategies. If you've been on a few of Gavin's calls, he's the mindset mentor that I've hired to speak to all of you. He's on a little sabbatical right now for summer with the cottage reno in the works. But a lot of what he's picked up, what I've learned from mentors, and I've tried to put it into like actual tools, not just talk therapy where you understand things, but you don't actually action them. Actual tools that are going to help you with this piece of the puzzle. Okay. So you might be familiar with the emotional guidance scale. So we're always feeling emotions at every moment of the day. And certainly we don't want to be on the bottom end of this range for long. We all will enter that at times. You know, you get triggered by your boss or the scale or whatever, and you start to have either some irritation, doubt, or full out anger, hatred, throwing that scale out the window. But we don't want to stay there for long, right? We want to try to move our way up into more neutrality or potentially the upper end of that range, at least for a spell. Because the longer we're there, the better our beliefs become, the better our mindset becomes, and the better our actions in the real world become, which ultimately leads to better results. So very woo-woo, but very true here. So I would maybe screenshot this. You can download it anywhere online though too. Just Google emotional guidance scale. It might be helpful to just print it and have it at your desk. I used to, and someone discarded it, maybe myself. But it's good, especially in the early going as you kind of work through this, to have it as a reference point because we'll default to our base emotional responses if we let it. Adam's 60K steps of the weekend. Holy, okay, rocking it. So with that said, we're going to kind of walk through here, but we just want to reach for a better feeling in the moment. As simple as that. So what I like to do is the vibe check, as Gavin calls it. So name the emotion you're feeling. Oh, maybe it's self-doubt. I've been down this road before, and I always fizzle out after 2 weeks. So doubt might be that emotion you're feeling. So where are you feeling? Do you get tense in your neck? I know some hunched over. That's one of my worst traits. When I'm feeling stress is I get really crunched up. So I want to try to improve my posture actively. This is why I'm sitting back up. So where are you feeling it physically? Just call it out because that might help you relax that. And then what is it trying to tell you, right? And that might be the hardest part to figure out is it could be you repeating a pattern that's almost automatic, that when X happens, you do Y. When your boss triggers you, you run into the lunchroom and you grab a donut, stuff your face, and you feel better temporarily. So just being aware of that trigger and what's happening is going to help you identify this and course correct in the moment. Okay. All right. I want to write notes for myself as well here. So what we want to do is look for evidence of the opposite as we go forward here. Okay. Because if we let it, ultimately the elephant moves us in the direction of where we're headed. Even if our conscious mind is saying, okay, you've got to track your macros and get your workouts in. If your subconscious mind is still in its old identity, habit driven to raid the pantry after dark, that is going to be the force that will either sabotage you or lead to success. So real change happens when we get these both minds aligned on the same thing. So you got to train your elephant with consistency, kind of forcing those habits at first, practicing patience with yourself because you will revert back at times, but they can't walk in opposite directions. Okay. So type of one, if this is resonating so far, I'm not throwing too much at you too fast. We want that elephant moving us towards our goals. And that's what we're rewiring. Trying to type that. All right. So the vicious cycle most end up in that I speak to is they have limiting beliefs that, it might be, just the fact that you don't think you're good enough. Donna's drawing on the sheet here. Or your genetics or your age or some insert excuse, valid or not, for why you can't do the thing you're trying to do. Obviously, what comes from that is negative emotions. We talk about doubt, fear, anxiety. That leads to self-sabotage because we rarely make good decisions from a negative state of mind. And then that just reinforces the belief. See, I told you I would fail, even though it was self-inflicted. All right. The good news is we can just change this into a virtuous cycle where you learn and grow from every experience, every setback. You glean something of value from that to do better next time. And when you're always in that empowered belief, not a victim, a victor, you get confidence, you get curious about what might be going wrong or why you're self-sabotaging. And then that gives you, confidence and belief that you can do better this time. And of course, the actions always are better from that framework and that state of mind. And then as you get results from better actions, oh, this confirms I'm on the right path. Awesome. I had a breakthrough this week. So yes, you'll still fail, but you see it as feedback. Cool. One thing to say, another thing to do consistently, and I get that, but that's why we're talking through it today. Okay, I'm not sure. Who's familiar with the RAS, reticular activating system? Type a yes in the chat if you are. I think we briefly talked about this in the past. A good example is if you're shopping for a car and you want a red car, now all you see when you drive around town is red cars that you never would have noticed before. But the fact that you're in the mindset of buying a vehicle, you're now seeing this in your reality. It's not just the algorithm overloads or overloads on Instagram sending you car ads because you clicked a car ad once. It's also in the real world with how your brain has to filter things because we get so much stimulation throughout the day, but if we're actively looking for something, it's going to help identify that. So how to make this work for you is when you expect good things, you find them. I'm trying to think. I always hear from my sister-in-law, hopefully she's not on this call, that, oh, the service sucks. I want a refund at restaurants. My food sucked. I haven't had bad service in like 5 years, and it's because I expect to have good service and I treat them with respect. I think that might help as well, right? Smile at them. You give them the time of day. So if you go into the mindset that bad things are going to happen, you're going to have to wait a long time for your food, the service is going to suck. Oh, you can bet more often than not, that's what's going to find you. Okay. So the same applies for fitness goals. You expect results. You likely will find them because you'll take better actions. Making sense so far. Good, Donna. Yes. Excellent. Okay. Throwing a lot of different tools at you, but this is one that helps give me a visual, so I thought I'd share it with you. I'm trying to think if this came from Gavin. I'm not even sure. I think it may have been in one of my other readings. Anyway, the boiling pot metaphor. So the heat source, the element, is your core limiting beliefs that are fueling emotional reactions. And that's the bubbling up to the surface. So just removing the lid of the pot is only going to give you temporary relief. Like what white knuckling willpower, for example. You might win the war with the bag of chips one night, but 2 nights, 2 weeks go by, that willpower battery is going to be drained. You're not going to win that war. So how do we do it? Let's turn off the element. You address the root belief. Obviously, control your environment in this case. Don't have the bag of chips in the house, but become someone that doesn't binge eat potato chips. That becomes part of your identity because you have bigger dreams and hopes for yourself. So that's the heat source, is your identity attached to these choices. It's easier to make good choices if that underlying belief system supports those good choices in the first place. Okay. Awesome. Keep it moving along. I'm not sure. Yeah, we're good. I think this is a big piece for all of us, and I've really struggled with this one, is you were born deserving of everything you want in life. You don't have to work your tail off. Well, you probably have to work a little bit for these things. I'm not saying that, but you have to kind of have this self-acceptance that your value exists independent of achievements or failures, because from that state, you get better results counterintuitively because you attract them. So I'm getting way out there with the woo now, but this is kind of the inner work I'm going through in real time. So I like to try to teach things that I'm trying to learn about. It's the best way for me to kind of implement as well. Okay, so you're already enough, but you have big dreams and goals. Great. You want to strive for more for 100 million reasons why, I'm sure. From a fitness perspective, it's to be healthy, not get cancer in a year kind of thing, right? Where we obviously want to have longevity, health, look our best, but we're have to have some worthiness in where we are now. Because if we really have that negative self-talk, self-image, it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy of doing all the wrong things. Okay. Hopefully I'm not losing you guys. So this is the actionable stuff I want you to actually have pen and paper, write down, and then hopefully make like a calendar reoccurring reminder that shows up. In Google Calendar, I do weird messages to myself that pop up at say 9 o'clock every night to kind of reinforce this stuff. Because if I write it down on a piece of paper, good, that's one step, but that paper tends to get lost. However, if it pops up every day, there's that constant reminder reinforcing it. Okay. So we want to phrase this in the present tense. Sometimes it's hard to say, I am the fittest, healthiest version of myself if we don't see ourselves as that way. Even if we try to fake it, it can be forced. So I like I deserve to be the healthiest, fittest version of myself. That one doesn't roll off the tongue. Something along those lines. You're deserving of the outcome you desire. Okay. So I don't ask anyone to share that, but I would encourage you to draft up a positive statement like that. You can get more specific with a certain weight number in that. Sometimes that can kind of get you caught up in the outcome and not what you need to do day to day. And that's just taking on this positive new identity. Okay. I'll let you work on that, but I'm going to keep moving forward here. But please do. Something along those lines is going to be helpful. So this is where we go if a lot of negative stuff is coming up when you do that previous mantra, is to break those bad beliefs with 4 pretty basic questions. Like, I don't deserve to be fit. My genetics aren't good enough. I'm too old to be as healthy as I want to be. Something along those lines. Work with one bad belief at a time. And honestly, answer, is this true? You can probably find someone in the community who's the same age, same challenges in life, who's done the thing you want to do. I bet there's someone, and the name may even come to mind for you. If not in my community, in your circle somewhere. So with that said, you can answer number 2 pretty easily. Are you absolutely certain that you can't make the change? No one else has proved otherwise in the history of mankind, humankind? Probably not, right? So how does buying into this belief impact your life? That's the question to ask. It's holding you back, right? So in what ways is buying into this belief about yourself a negative thing that we need to reframe? And who could you be without this limiting belief? And that's where the magic happens. So work through those 4 questions. 1 and 2 sound kind of the same, but this is about yourself. And this is about, okay, there's probably someone I know just like me in almost every way who's done exactly what I say I can't do. Okay. Okay. We're giving you lots to workshop through here, but it'll be helpful. So tying that all together this isn't about like shouting affirmations into the mirror. Like, you do have to actually do the work and have evidence daily that you're moving towards this new version of yourself, or else it falls flat. This yelling in the mirror part. But you do want to have that mantra we talked about earlier. I'm ready, or I'm deserving to be the fittest version I see myself as, whatever, right? And have that either, you don't have to say it, but have it somewhere that you see it daily. Okay. Like I said, the Google Calendar reoccurring thing helps me. So you want to feel a positive emotion when you say it. You don't want to be like, oh, not believing the words you're saying. You want to really try to embrace that positive energy. And then your task, what we'll talk about here in a second, is to look for proof that it's becoming true. So you hit your water goal today. You skip the second serving of dessert on the weekend, right? And eventually, slowly but surely, the new belief, your mind, it just accepts it as reality. It's no longer about forcing these things. It's just who you are, right? So that's the last piece to come. But if you do these three consistently, have your mantra, when you read it through or say it out loud, feel positive energy and motion, and then you're going to have to do the work, right? The evidence piece. And that's checking those boxes in the app that you're doing what you need to do. All right. So more or less what we talked about, this is just helpful. You could keep an evidence journal of everything you're doing that's moving you towards your dream outcome. It doesn't have to just be your fitness goals, but that's what we're sticking to here for obvious reasons. I would say in the app, it does a lot of that legwork for you by tracking workouts completed, your food logs, your steps, your water. It's all there, right, on your hub, and it's all clear as day. If you're checking those, you're in business. If you're not, the work's not being done consistently enough to be deserving of the outcome, right? And I think a big one is the small wins, the non-scale victories, because the scale, if you're only attaching success or failure to that, it's going to disappoint you more than reward you. Okay? So really get cognizant to what's changing your life for the better from doing these things, because it makes the work a lot easier if you're noticing true benefits. All right. I just added this slide because I've seen it come up a few times. Is the 80-year-old frame just like try to, and you can actually use, I'll send the tool after. You can have a conversation with your 90-year-old self through like ChatGPT or something. And it's going to kind of coach you and mentor you on ultimately when you're facing difficult decisions or tempted to give up, what would your future self tell you? No, this matters. Keep at it. It's going to be worth it down the road, all those things. And it gives you a bit of motivation, right? Okay. I always try to focus in on, would this matter to my 80-year-old self? If not, why am I worried about it? Would this help my 80-year-old self? Then yes, let me continue to take action on it. Continue to do this darn cardio I don't like doing because I don't want to be in the personal care home, stuck, hating my life. All right. And lastly is to recognize, for lack of a better word, like tripwires might be a sign from the universe that it's worth the effort, but you're going to have to do the work, right? It's like that temptation to steer you off the path, to choose the path of least resistance, that discouraging voice that pops up in your head. All those things, I try to reframe them as, okay, these are tests that, do I want this bad enough? And if I push through this, that's just another sign, another piece of evidence that I'm becoming this new version. All right. So welcome them. There's a book called The Obstacle is the Way. Never read it, but the title gives it away, I think. Is that when sometimes things seem hard and difficult in the moment, those are the most rewarding paths. Because what lies on the other side of that obstacle is a whole new life, whole new opportunity. The rewards essentially come from getting through that. All right. So lastly, you don't have to have it quite as structured as this, but try to have that mantra written down somewhere where you'll see it daily, because we want you to kind of get in the right energy space every day to do what you need to do in terms of those habits, right? Now, when you inevitably hit those roadblocks and you fall into a rut emotionally, have that vibe check at the ready. Those 4 questions to break bad beliefs. I didn't put that here, but that can certainly help you reframe things. Even just breath work, writing down things you're grateful for is powerful. And then trying every day to have evidence that you're making progress and celebrating the small wins. Because those are going to give you those little dopamine hits, the right kind of dopamine to keep doing the right things. Okay. Awesome. I think we're there. Just the last little footnote on this is sometimes we're so wired for a familiar hell because our nervous system just is comfortable feeling in this low state of fear and having to grind to get things and, eating the wrong things because it's become habitual. So we need to almost force it to get to that unfamiliar heaven. And that requires a lot of the deep work we talked about here. To change your beliefs, which change your habits, which change your outcomes. All right. Forget that chart. More or less the same thing as do everything daily. So with that said, I would challenge you to, beyond the obvious in the app already, what you're being tasked to do is just have a little notebook nearby or sticky notes and notice the small wins and have at least one or two small wins you can write down daily. And then as this goes, celebrate the consistency. Like we've designed the app with the challenges, but also with the streaks that happen with your water and step goals to really celebrate consistency and reinforce what matters, right? The Seinfeld strategy where Jerry wrote a joke every day or a pair of jokes every day, and he would hit a check mark on his calendar. And his goal, solely his goal, was to write jokes every day. And if there was an X, then the streak was lost and he had to continue it. So that's really what we're trying to hammer home here is consistency compounds, right? It's on your wristbands. And then lastly, notice the deeper changes, like looking forward to a workout versus dreading it. If you're more stressed about missing a workout than having to do it, that's the identity shift. That's an example of things really turning for the better for you. All right. Who's in for the evidence challenge? I'd love to hear who's actually going to action this training. Type a one, type a yes in chat. Got a good group here today. So hopefully you're going to take away not too much from today. Don't try to do everything at once, but that 30-day evidence challenge would be probably the most powerful thing to move you forward. Awesome, Tia, Martha. Good. Any questions on this stuff? Sean, I got to bring back the Rise and Shine challenge for a year ago. Yes, that was a popular one. Good reminder. Dawn is in. Love it. All right. Anybody? All is clear? No pressure. It's always the hardest to get the first question out, but Shauna, let's hear it.
You can always count on me, Mitch.
That's
Uh,
right.
hmm. I'm mentioning the Rise and Shine challenge, which effectively it came out of I think originally when Gavin introduced this idea of self-doubt. And it's extremely powerful just to do that vibe check in the morning and see where you are, if you're spiraling down or if you're spiraling up. It's a very interesting thing because you don't, unless you take a moment to kind of think about how you're feeling, you may not. And you may not be realizing you're kind of in a down feeling. And if you don't actively make an effort to to be conscious about where you're putting your energy and to move yourself into a more maybe not, unrealistic, but at least you're more optimistic about or hopeful about your future as opposed to just saying, this is another day I can't do it. And it's just like,
Mhm.
so I think it's actually weirdly effective. I know it keeps talking about this being woo-woo, but it actually does work. And
I'm
it's
glad
not,
you said that
yeah,
because
I mean it
sometimes it's hard to
maybe
convince
it
people
won't
of that.
help you all with your fitness stuff, but it certainly helps you with your day. I think the other part of the Rise and Shine challenge that was super effective is just taking, a minute, if that, to say what you're grateful for. Three things, just three things. And that alone can really up your mood because, even if you're just happy to have a roof over your head and that the day is green and beautiful, that you have food on the table, whatever it is, that also is a really great way to bring your spirit up and just sort of, it's not that bad. What's happening to me is not that bad. So um, I think some of those positive attitudes are really helpful in that first moment of the day in the shower or wherever you're doing it. Just taking a moment to kind of refocus and be aware of where your energy is. Um, So yeah, I think it's quite effective and surprising. The Rise and Shine also has a little, I don't know, 5 minute yoga or go outside and get some sunshine on yourself. Also very good things to do just to connect with nature or just, get some vitamin D on going on. So yeah, I definitely would say these are great um, uh, great practices and questioning whether the things you keep telling yourself that you can't do are actually not possible. Um, and that you cannot stop after 12 chips was Gavin's big. So I gotta go to the bottom of that bag. I don't know if I can stop myself, but I have been able to put in additions to the bag, so there's something. Yeah, so I think you look for those little wins, and it actually is really effective. So for those of you who haven't tried this, you should definitely give it a shot. And it doesn't have to take very long. I think what I haven't done is done the rechecks in during the day, which you're referring to here today to say, okay, let's see where we're at the end of the day, because that's actually when the snack bags come out. I put on the feed bag then, so that's maybe when I should be checking in again.
Yeah, because you can be in a high vibrational state to start the day, but then something drags you down. Some other human being that's not in high vibe drags you down, gives you the finger in traffic, and then you're in a lower state and you get home and the
You know
feedback
what it
starts.
is? It's my kids saying we're going in the car and we're going for ice cream. I got
Ah,
crabs in my bucket,
environment.
millions of them.
Yes. The crabs in the bucket. It's always optional to partake, but it's always harder if it's right in your environment. And I haven't mastered the bag of chip moderation either, so we just simply do not have them here. Not always. They sometimes slip through the cracks, but I feel that one too. Awesome. Good insight, Sean. I'll bring back that Rise and Shine for those not familiar. Maybe we can do something for July with that in mind, tie into this training. Anyone else? Comments? And then working on the ant and the elephant. Do you want to expand on that?
There was a lot to consume there in a very short period of
There
time. So
was.
I'm still I think that was the first slide, but just the like the subconscious and the you know that part. So yeah, I don't have any problems with sweet treats or chips or anything like that. I'm pretty good. Um, Mine is literally saying no to wine.
Everyone's got their kryptonite,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can moderate the wine. So I'm good
That's
at
a win.
saying only this much, but it's the first one that I have to work my brain through and just
Yeah.
say no for the fat loss phase, right?
Yeah,
No
that's the thing.
alcohol.
Every little bit
Yeah.
makes a difference in that phase,
And I use
unfortunately.
wine as the word for, summer mojitos, etc. Although those ones you can make alcohol free very easily. So
That's fair, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the combination of the alcohol, high calorie, plus the food goggles you sometimes get around. It doesn't seem like that's the case for you, but I find I'm a lot more snacky
But
after
there's a lot of
the
really
next
good
day.
non-alcoholic beers. Actually, just the Manitoba Marathon had one on profile called Athletica, which is even
Hmm.
less than some of the non-other non-alcoholic beers. And Athletica, I have to figure out where it's sold, but 45 calories for the can,
That
low
is
in
slow.
carbs, and it
Yeah.
tasted like a really nice cold beer. So
Still gives you that beer on a summer day feeling. Okay, yeah,
that's
I like
right.
it. 'Cause I always argue, well, where's the fun without the alcohol? But if it accomplishes the act of having that beer in a glass, or whatever the case may be, then that's
It's
the
the
win.
flavor.
Yes,
Yeah.
flavor too.
Water gets boring after a while.
It sure does. Yeah, love it. Good insights there. Yeah, so lots to take away from this call. Wouldn't expect you to implement everything, but the mantra and the evidence challenge, I'll send the replay with notes so that if you miss something, you can certainly dig back through it or ask me questions. But this is the stuff that's overlooked, but super critical to long-term success. So we'll really encourage you to try to do some of this work in varying degrees, one step at a time. All right. Well, we can leave it there unless there's any final commentary or questions. Those lurkers with their cameras on. Okay. I'm sure they're feverishly taking notes.
We
Love
see
it.
Shauna's bicycle in the back there. She cycles to work. Way to go.
Yeah, that's a fake pic though, unfortunately. So
Ah,
yeah.
good one,
Yeah,
That's all
Shauna.
figured
yeah.
out.
Mitch is on to me, man. He's seen my fake bike for several years now, and yeah, it's not real.
Really
Yeah.
on brand though. I like it. We'll take that all day. Awesome, guys. All right, we'll leave it there. Obviously, any questions, you guys know where to find me. And we'll be back again next week. Less woo-woo, more actionable stuff. Cheers.
Thanks, Mitch.